Hello and welcome to the I've Seen Everything Reaction Wrap-Up. My name's Andrew and I'm glad to have you here with me. This is where I share my thoughts, rating, and review following my most recent reaction or watch-along video. To find these reaction and watch-along videos, please visit @SeenEverything over on YouTube. Please be sure to click the follow button here on the podcast, and for those listening on Apple Podcasts, a rating and review would be greatly appreciated. And now, on to this episode's wrap-up for The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, Extended Edition. Well, that was certainly a similar experience, yet a different experience. Both the second time through watching the movie, but this time with the extended edition. I can definitely see what many of you were telling me about things that were in the extended edition that the theatrical edition kind of blew past. I guess what I would say as far as my assessment of the certain things that were included in extended edition that weren't for theatrical is that there were some, I guess I can see the frustration that just didn't make sense. I mean, you can understand that when you're cutting something down for theatrical, you're trying to find places where you can save time. But there were small moments that were pretty important that they cut out in that effort when it just would have been a few seconds here or there. They could have found other places to cut out. They could have found other bits of like the kind of expansive travel like segments and stuff where they give your sweeping shots of the landscape and stuff. They could have found moments out of there to cut out things. But yeah, they definitely made some odd choices as far as the cuts. Now, some of that you could argue wasn't completely necessary, like things that would become obvious through the course of the storytelling, stuff that they didn't necessarily have to signal toward in advance. But there were certain things that just kind of wouldn't make sense later, or that would just kind of be lost altogether without like a 10-second scene that explained it previously. The cloaks they're all wearing, those come into play later on. The things they're given by the elves as they're leaving them and going off to the ending of the movie, the battle against the Uruk-hai and all of that. A lot of the other parts I feel like were just kind of extra moments for character development and for moments to emotionally let a poignant moment breathe, to give it more space, which is important certainly when it comes to emotional connection to what's going on. Unfortunately, things like that do get sacrificed in theatrical cuts or when people are trying to save time. But also just moments, again, moments for character development. And this is very much what all of you told me as well, obviously going along the same line that I've discovered what you already knew. The slight differences in what they were able to show you with Boromir kind of changed the characterization enough to show you that he is, at his heart, a noble person. He does care about doing the right thing, but he also cares very much for his people. And his people are in a troubling position. Even specifically, the extended part in the meeting about the ring, when they're deciding what to do with it, him being drawn to it immediately, almost right off the bat, just going over to pick it up, showing you his susceptibility to the power of the ring, signaling that he's probably going to be the one to break first. But also, he gives the same speech, but it's a different take, like different emotion, different voice behind it. Just even that lends a considerably different characterization. Little moments that you don't get otherwise between certain characters, especially that moment between Gandalf and Frodo before they go into the mines of Moria. Yeah, it just all lends to a different feel of the story. But I still maintain my point about the theatrical cuts in that you can make an argument the other direction. When these movies came out, there are people who were already diehard fans of Lord of the Rings, who loved Lord of the Rings, that would have gone to see these movies no matter what, that were waiting for them to come out, dying for them to come out because they were already diehard fans of this. They had read the books, they, had seen the animated things they had done previously. They were just chomping at the bit for anything Lord of the Rings. Now, obviously, if this had been in the hands of someone else who didn't do as good a job, you would have had a lot more people far more furious, I'm sure. But there were those people that were going to go see it no matter what. There was an existing fan base. But they also, to their credit and just the way these things work, had to try to put something forward that the general public would give a chance. And even a theatrical cut that's already pushing 3 hours is tough to sell to the general public, that they're going to go and take a shot on this thing they know nothing about and sit in a theater for 3 hours. I'm sure that one of the things that helped drive people to the theater after that was that word got out like, oh, this is amazing. You have to go see this. It was an entry point. Theatrical cuts always are, especially in situations like this. I'm sure there are other movies that got extended cuts similar to this where the more complete vision of the story was told in those extended cuts. I still think that Lord of the Rings owes a lot as far as people who have found it and love it. And even if they love the extended cuts far more than theatrical now. Those theatrical cuts were still their entry point to this world. It was still the first thing they ever saw. And without the existence of them, they may never have found anything to do with Lord of the Rings. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you disagree with me. That's all perfectly fine. That's the way I feel about it. It's the way I imagine it to be. Maybe you're just so steadfast. No, the extended cuts were so great. Everyone would have gone and seen them. Doesn't matter how long they were. Some people, that's a deterrent if they don't already love it, So we are at the part of the video where we come to ratings. And what will my ratings be? Maybe my ratings for the theatrical cuts would change, because if these are better, then they would be rated higher. We're already kind of at the top end with these. I believe the theatrical cut of Return of the King, I rated 5 stars. I did enjoy this more this time. That had something to do with it being the second viewing, because I wasn't starting cold. I was familiar with some of these characters. I was familiar with the basic outline of what was going to happen. This did go deeper into that, and I did enjoy that. I gave the theatrical cut of this 4 stars. I'm going to give this 4.5 stars. We're not leaving much headroom here, because again, the theatrical cut of Return of the King got 5 stars. So if we're at this level, it's possible the rest of them are just going to get 5. I don't think I'm going to move the other ones down, because for me, more enjoyment of the extended editions doesn't diminish my enjoyment of the theatrical versions. I enjoyed them. They're the reason I'm watching the extended editions now, because the promise of those movies that I enjoyed, but a deeper telling of them, that's why I'm here. If I were to predict, I would say that I'm going to enjoy these movies, because I certainly enjoyed the theatrical cuts, but I'm not going to have the animosity toward the theatrical cuts that some people have necessarily. I do think there are some choices they made that didn't make a lot of sense to me, especially things that are only a few seconds that would have provided a decent amount more clarity. But that kind of thing happens when you have editors looking to save time. But anyway, 4.5 stars. That's where we are on Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring Extended Edition, which I think anybody would agree is a mouthful as far as title. I really appreciate you coming along on this with me. I am looking forward to watching the others. I'm sure that this got released in 2 parts, so thanks for coming along on both parts. I don't know if I'm going to be doing Two Towers and Return of the King immediately, but I am certainly going to be doing them. And I hope that you'll come along with me when I do those. And with the other reactions I'm doing on this channel, I have a lot of things that I want to do out here, a lot of things I'm excited to get into or to continue with, other things that I've already started. So anyway, thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care. Thank you for listening to the I've Seen Everything reaction wrap-up. Again, to find these reaction and watch-along videos, please visit @SeenEverything over on YouTube. Please consider following the podcast, and for those on Apple Podcasts, a rating and review are always appreciated. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll meet you here on the next episode.